6 new nations will join the BRICS grouping. Argentina, Iran, Egypt, Ethiopia, UAE and Saudi Arabia will join the bloc. The new membership will come into effect from January 1st, 2024. The announcement comes on the final day of the 15th BRICS Summit in South Africa. India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi called for BRICS groups to establish a space exploration consortium as well. A Russian court has extended the pre-trial detention of jailed Wall Street Journal reporter, and according to Moscow court, Ivan Gershkovich will remain in a Russian jail until the 30th of November. Gershkovich, a U.S. citizen, was arrested by Russia's Federal Security Service on the 29th of March on alleged charges of espionage. Russia's security agency, the FSB, accused him of collecting state secrets about a military-industrial complex. The Kremlin has claimed that he is the first U.S. journalist detained in Russia on espionage charges, was caught red-handed. The head of Russia's Wagner mercenary group, Yevgeny Prigozhin, was listed as a passenger who was on board a plane that crashed on Wednesday evening in north of Moscow. According to the Russian authorities, there were no survivors in the crash. This comes 2 months after Prigozhin staged an unsuccessful mutiny against the Russian army's top brass. However, the Kremlin or the Russian Defense Ministry have not released any official comment. As of now, 10 bodies have been recovered from the crash site. South Korea's environmental groups are holding a rally in Busan to protest against Japan's Fukushima water release. More than 30 activists were seen chanting and waving flags on the beach and on boats while placing yellow plastic sheets with radioactive marks on the beach to symbolize the ocean contamination by the water release from the Fukushima plant. The protests occurred as Japan has started releasing treated radioactive water from the wrecked nuclear power plant into the Pacific Ocean. This is seen as a polarizing move that has prompted China to announce an immediate ban on all seafood imports from Japan. The Fukushima nuclear power plant has started to release treated and diluted radioactive wastewater, as we said, into the Pacific. Japan says it's an essential step to clean up the facility that had a reactor meltdown 12 years ago. The nuclear facility was hit by an earthquake and a tsunami back in March 2011. The disaster sent 3 reactors into meltdown and contaminated their cooling water, which has been leaking since then. The water is collected, treated with a filtering system and stored in about 1,000 tanks. The Japanese government has said that the treated water will be released into the ocean gradually over the next few years. There is reportedly 1.34 million tons of nuclear wastewater stored at the facility. North Korea's attempt to send what it claims to be a spy satellite into orbit has ended in failure for a second time. The country's space authorities say they will try again in October. The nuclear-armed country has been seeking to place what would be its first military spy satellite into orbit. A spy satellite is a priority of North Korea's leader Kim Jong-un and is planned to modernize the country's military and develop cutting-edge weapons. 10 minutes after the launch, the Japanese city of Okinawa received emergency warnings and advised its residents to take cover. The emergency warning was lifted 20 minutes later. Reacting to the launch, the U.S. State Department has said that the attempted satellite launch violates multiple UN Security Council resolutions. Australia is giving easier access to its waste a vast critical minerals sector. This is part of the negotiations over a free trade agreement with the European Union ahead of the possible further talks next week. Australian Trade Minister Don Farrell has said a free trade agreement will simplify European investment in the country's burgeoning critical minerals sector. Negotiations between Australia and the 450 million person bloc were stalled in July, partly over the issue of greater market access for Australian farm products like beef. A bus full of pilgrims from the Indian state of Rajasthan met with an accident in Nepal. At least 7 people have died and 19 others are injured. Reports say the bus lost control and fell into a ditch of more than 100 meters below the road. Among the dead, one is a Nepali citizen and the rest are residents of and pilgrims from Rajasthan. The accident took place in Bara district while they were returning from Kathmandu after visiting the Pashupati temple. A spate of looting at stores and supermarkets around Argentina has led to dozens of arrests. This points out a possible sign of increasing volatility with inflation over 100% and amid a tense race to the general election in October. And according to some CCTV footage, people are seen breaking into stores, stealing food and other items. The country's economy minister has said that a government aid of $19,150 would be given to the victims of the looting. However, the International Monetary Fund has announced the disbursement of $7.5 billion to Argentina. This comes as the IMF completed the 5th and 6th review of their $44 billion program. 3 U.S. senators visited Kyiv on Wednesday and pledged more support for Ukraine. However, Republican lawmaker Lindsey Graham, along with Democrats Elizabeth Warren and Richard Blumenthal, were caught off guard by an air raid alert and had to take cover at a parking lot. The senators later met Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky and assured continued support against the Russian invasion. The visit comes after the Netherlands and Denmark agreed to supply American-made F-16 fighter jets to Ukraine. The Ukrainian troops began their counteroffensive to regain lost territory in early June, but progress has been slow. Hundreds of Arab citizens of Israel marched at the funeral of a community leader who was reportedly murdered. They voiced their anger at what they claim is the Israeli government's failure to curb a surge in criminal violence ripping through their communities. Mourners waved black flags and wore black T-shirts with a photo of the deceased community leaders. Dozens protested outside the local police station after the funeral. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has said that he will involve the country's domestic intelligence agencies to fight crime against Arab communities. India's Chandrayaan-3 has made history by being the first spacecraft to successfully make a soft landing near the moon's south pole. The Vikram lander has sent the first pictures of the moon's surface briefly after landing. Indian Space Agency ISRO took to social media platform X to publish the first images and said the communication had been established with the lander. Moreover, the rover Pragyan has rolled down from the lander onto the lunar surface. Over the next 14 days, the rover will carry out experiments on the surface of the moon. The US and South Korean troops held joint urban warfare exercises in facilities designed to simulate densely populated environments as part of the annual Ulchi Freedom Shield drills. The joint exercises were held near the North Korean border. South Korea's military had said this year's exercises will be held on the largest scale ever, involving tens of thousands of troops from both sides. However, North Korea has denounced the military drills and termed it as a rehearsal for a nuclear war. Donald Trump's former personal lawyer Giuliani has surrendered at an Atlanta jail to face charges from his alleged actions at overturning the 2020 presidential elections. Giuliani, a former federal prosecutor and New York City mayor, was ordered to pay $150,000 as bond. Giuliani is among Trump's co-defendants in the criminal case brought by Fulton County District Attorney, accusing them of trying to reverse his narrow 2020 election loss. All the defendants are facing a total of 41 charges. All of them have been accused of racketeering, which carries a penalty of up to 20 years in prison. Chilean police have deployed helicopters to rescue people and animals trapped by floods in El Monte. Torrential rains have hit the central southern region of Chile, leaving thousands homeless, roads blocked, causing blackouts and leading to evacuations. And the president has declared a state of catastrophe on Monday and asked Chileans to comply with evacuation orders. Forecasters expect more rain to fall across the mountainous areas, which authorities warn increases the risk of flooding and landslides. France is on a red alert as mercury breached 40 degrees Celsius in southern France, and according to weather reports, the latest heat wave is caused by a heat dome that traps warm air onto the ground. The highest temperature ever recorded in France was 46 degrees Celsius, and according to the country's weather department, the current high temperatures mark the hottest of the season. Reports suggest a number of global and local distressed asset investors are considering buying some of the State Bank of India's bad loans put up for sale in the financial year that began in April. The country's top state lender earlier this month identified a list of 331 non-performing assets with a combined outstanding value of $11.6 billion. NVIDIA Core's Chief Executive Officer Jensen Huang grew as much as $4.2 billion richer after the company's latest earnings and forecast beat estimates. The shares of the chipmaker surged as much as 10% in the aftermarket trading, boosting Huang's total fortune of $46.1 billion. And according to the Bloomberg Billionaires Index, if that gain can be sustained, Huang is posted to end up among the world's 25 wealthiest individuals.